John chapter 10, starting at verse 1. Jesus is teaching, and this is what he says. Most assuredly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings them out, his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice, yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this illustration, but they did not understand the things which he spoke to them. So then Jesus said to them again, most assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. So there's your I am statement for this message. I am the door of the sheep. And whoever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and he will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes. Nope, wrong. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. We're going to stop right there. We'll pick up in verse 11 next week. So what I want to talk to you about this morning is just the topic of follow me. That's what the title of the message is. If you write notes, you can write it down, follow me. We're going to talk about how to follow Jesus because Jesus is the door. He is the door to the sheep. We are the sheep of his pasture, and so we're going to follow him this morning. Would you pray with me? God, we ask that you would be with us today, that you would lead us, that we would follow you, that everything we do today would be to honor you. Have your will in this service. Have your way in this service. In Jesus' name, amen. Your guidance is only as reliable as your guide. If you have a terrible guide at an event that you're at, if you're on vacation and you go on a tour and your guide is terrible, you're going to have a bad experience because your guide doesn't know what they're doing. In fact, my father-in-law was for a while working, I don't remember, I think it was in Florida. He was working as an airboat captain, driving people around. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If there's a guy you want to be your airboat captain, it's Doug. You can't even say Doug's name without sounding like Doug. It's Doug. It's Doug. You want Doug to be, because not only will Doug know every single plant that you pass, every single tree that you pass, he can probably sense how deep the water is where you're at. He can tell you the proper chemical mixture of everything that's leaked into the water. He can tell you what kind of fish are swimming under there and probably tell you how many of them there are. He knows every kind of species of everything that there is. He is a real outdoors guy. He is basically the very opposite of what I am. You want to tour around the house? I got you. You want to tour around the woods? That's not my area. I'm not the one. I stay away from the woods. And so, but he was working down there and he was, just driving people around on the airboat. Now, the thing about the airboats is they're very loud. You got to wear the big ear things and that's my airboat impression. It was terrible, I know. But you gotta wear the ear things and go out to where you're going. So for the guide to really effectively be a good guide, he has to stop the boat, turn it off, let you take off your ear protection, and then tell you where you're at and what you're doing. And a really good guide knows right where to stop you. A really good guide knows when to stop, when to keep going, when there's danger, when not to be out, when to be going in. And in Florida, the rain, the storms can just happen at any moment, especially in the summertime. Now, they're going to happen at like 3 o'clock, but they could happen a little earlier or a little later. You never know exactly when they could just show up. They can show up in just a matter of minutes. And so you have to be able to understand and read the surroundings of where you're at. And a good guide can do that. And that is the kind of guide that Jesus is to these people and to us today. He's a guide that knows exactly where we need to be when we need to be there. He knows how we need to get there, where we need to go. He knows when the storms are coming, so he can tell us to buckle up and get ready. You're about to go through some problems. You're about to go through some pain. You're about to face some struggle. But don't worry, because I am the door, and I will teach you the way. I am the door. I am the door. Jesus said, I am the door. What is so special about the door? That's an odd thing to say. I'm the door. I am the door. The door speaks of guidance. It speaks about knowing where you're going. This whole sermon today, this whole follow me idea is about the guidance and the leadership of God in our lives. And if we would follow him, he will lead us where we need to be. He will be the guide that we need in our life. And your guidance is only as good as your guide. And I'm here to tell you that if you follow Jesus, he will be the greatest guide you could ever experience in your life. He knows everything you're going to face. He knows every possible outcome. He knows every scenario. And if you're struggling right now, just trust the guide. And if you're walking slowly right now, just trust the guide. And if you're in the middle of a storm right now, just trust the guide, because he is all you need to get you through this storm. God is willing to lead if we are willing to follow. Follow. That's on Christina's Snapchat now. Follow. God is trying to lead us, but so many people don't think they need a guide through life, or a God. I have done an okay job. Look at me. I'm not doing too bad. That's what we tell God. I'm not doing too bad for myself. I got a job. I got my bills are somewhat paid. I'm still alive. My kids haven't died yet. I'm doing okay. You know, that's what I tell people when they're like, you just let the kids go. I'm like, they're still alive, ain't they? We're like 2 years away from Isaiah being a grown adult that can handle himself. Well, a grown adult. And so, you know, I mean, we done something okay. They're still alive. They're not addicted to anything. They're not acting like fools. So we're doing okay. But I want to tell you that no matter how good you think you've done, no matter how good of a parent you might be, and you may be the best parent that the world has ever seen, there is a God who knows how to be the best parent. There is somebody who sticks close to you. There is somebody who loves you more than you can love yourself, more than you can love your children, more than you can love life. There is a God who is waiting there for you with his arms stretched out saying, if you will follow me, I will lead you. And so many times we turn our back on God and say, no thanks, I don't need you today. I didn't need you yesterday. And tomorrow's not looking so good for you either. I got this. But there's a difference between being alive and living. To be alive is literally to be breathing. But to live is to live your life, is to thrive in what you do. Is to be excited every morning, to wake up and say, I get to face a new day. I am living the dream. I am doing what I got to do. I am going to be the best Jonathan that I can be today. I don't just want to get by. I don't just want to get through this life. I want to live this life. I want to enjoy these things. I want to have fun with my family. Last night we tried to go to a basketball game, and because we had tickets to a basketball game. And when we got to the basketball game, they were given to us and given to some. I was not a part of the conversation, so I don't know where they came from. Chastity was like, do you want to go to a basketball game? I was like, sure, no problem. Never been to a Mad Ants game, why not? So she showed me the tickets. We went and got them, and I said, okay, cool, we got tickets. We get home, we get ready, we're all ready to go. We're driving in the car, we're at the Coliseum, and all of a sudden, Chastity looks down, reads the tickets, and it says, this is a voucher. Present this ticket voucher to the people in the window, and they will give you the actual ticket. So I was like, all right. So we are lazy people, so we always pay for the extra couple dollars to pay to park in the preferred parking spot because, you know, that's what Jesus would do, and I try to live my life by what would Jesus do, and I think he would want to be close to the, you know, that's like the holy anointed parking lot, and I think that's where he would be. And so we slide in there, and we go in, and when we're going in, she goes, I have these tickets, but they're not really tickets. They look like tickets, but we have to turn them in to get the real tickets. And so, are there still tickets available? And he goes, he called on the radio. We got somebody out here with some fake tickets. Can they turn these in for some real ones? Hey, Bob, let them park, but don't charge them. That's my favorite part of that whole story is don't charge them. I was like, yes, I knew this was the anointed spot to be. And so we get in there, we park, and we walk in the Coliseum. And Chastity goes up to the window because there was too many people for me. And she goes, I need to get these. And they were like, oh, well, I'm sorry, but those sections are all filled up. And so you can get other tickets like in the different section, but those cost even more. And I was like, pump the brakes. We just got free parking. Why would we spend extra money now? So we had a little meeting, and I suggested something we could do. The boys suggested something we could do. Chastity brought nothing to the table and yelled at us because we were not bringing anything to the table. I want to point that out. And then she's like, we're not doing any of that. And then I just want to also say that we ended up doing what I wanted to do, which was go play mini golf with the family. My point of this story is that sometimes in your life, when things happen, you have to be able to just roll with it. We hit a roadblock in one area of life, and you slip into something else, and we lived our life last night with our family. That's what we did. We went and played, and I was planning on being inside the Coliseum, so I was wearing a short sleeve shirt and no jacket because I thought, I'm going to be inside. I don't need one. You know where I was at? Outside, playing mini golf with no jacket on, freezing to death. But I want to tell you that it does not hinder my golf abilities because I am the champion. I beat everybody, and I will not let one more moment go without everybody knowing, Jeremy, you didn't need to cough like that. It was uncalled for, unprofessional. Find it. It was putt-putt golf. I know you've seen me play real golf, which I'm not great at, but that was putt-putt golf. Chastity played moving on. We're moving. Somebody once said in life, if you want to be a leader, you have to be a good follower first. There's a lot of people that want to be a leader but can't follow. There's a lot of people that want to lead somebody but don't know how to follow anybody else. And if you don't know how to follow somebody, if you don't know what it's like to walk behind somebody, if you don't know what it's like for somebody to lead you and guide you, then how are you going to lead and guide somebody else? You have to be able to follow if you want to be a good leader. Max Lucado said it this way: a man who wants to lead the orchestra must first turn his back on the crowd. Unfortunately, we live in a society who finds it too hard to leave the crowd and follow the true source of abundant life, which is God. He said in order to lead the orchestra, you have to face the orchestra. In public speaking, we had to do like these public speaking courses when we were doing this licensing, and you can't put your hand in your pocket because that's unprofessional. I do that all the time. You can't stumble over yourself. You got to know what you're saying. I stumble over myself constantly. So all that just goes to back up the fact that I'm a terrible public speaker, but somehow I get the job done. But one of the things you're not supposed to do is turn your back on people. You're never supposed to go like this. You're always supposed to engage the people. You're always supposed to look at the people. And what Max Lucado is saying is sometimes you have to turn around. Because if I'm always looking at what everybody else is doing, if I'm always looking at everybody else, if I'm always following what they're doing, if I'm always following what society says, if I'm always following what the Billboard chart says is good music, which is terrible music in my opinion, they don't even use words, but if I'm always following somebody else, then I'm never going to be able to lead myself or my family. And God has given me a wife and 3 children. And we might not be the best. I might not be the best husband. I might not be the best father. But I try my best. And I trust God to lead. Because I cannot lead my family unless I know how to follow God. And even more importantly, I cannot lead this church or any other ministry if I cannot follow God. I have to be able to follow to be able to lead. Today, everybody wants to be followed, but nobody wants to lead. We need leaders to stand up. We need leaders to stand up for the children in the world. We need leaders to say enough is enough. I'm not going to be dealing with this no more. We need leaders to stand up and say, I'm going to make a difference in this world. I want to see something happen that is better. I want to leave the world a better place than it was for me, than it was for I want to see everything get better. But instead, everything's getting so confused. We need to stand up for each other. We need to stand up and lead people away from the problems and lead them back to a relationship with Jesus. There are people like the ship is sinking and they are trying to find the lifeboat and get away from God, get away from church, get away from Jesus, and they think this thing is going down. But I want to create a new movement. I don't want the ship to go down. I want it to float and I want it to thrive, and I want people to look to the boat, look to the ship that Jesus is the captain of, and say, I need to be on that one. I've lived on this one long enough. I need to get out of the lifeboat and get into the main boat. I need to follow Jesus if I want to be able to lead anything. Me and Chastity were talking yesterday. This is free for you guys, not on my notes. We were talking yesterday, which, by the way, most of what I said has not been in my iPad. We were talking yesterday, and she said, I don't remember what started the conversation, but we were talking about something. And this might be offensive to you guys, and if it is, I apologize, but it's not offensive to the Bible, so I don't rightly care what anybody else says. We were talking, we seen something on TV or heard something on the radio about somebody that said that they didn't have a gender. And the Indiana is now like the 5th state that allows you to just put X on your gender. You don't have to be male or female. And she said, it's funny that people will always say, you have to let people be what they want to be. You have to, like, what makes that person a male? I know what makes them a male. Their DNA makeup, their chromosomes, and other stuff make them a male. What makes them a female? They're biologically made that way. And so when people change what they are and turn into something that they're not meant to be, even though they take hormones and even though they do all this stuff, they will never truly be what they want to be because that's not their DNA, that's not their biological profile. And so what she said was funny, and I never thought about it this way. It was funny, but it was true. She said the same people that want to say there are 954 genders and you don't have to be anything, and you got to let the babies be what they want to be, and like the baby can decide what you're supposed to say, baby kind, not baby, not him, her. You're supposed to say, like, I don't know what all the rules are because I don't pay attention to them. And she said, but it's the same people that want to do all that turn their back on the scientific fact of gender, male, female. Scientific fact. Those are the same people that want to promote science to destroy God, but destroy science to promote what they want to believe in their life. You can't have it both ways. You have to stand up and lead. And if you're going to lead, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that I'm not saying anything about what you lead. What I'm saying is that you have to be able to lead. And if you're going to lead one of those, we can be an alien race from the planet whatever, then fine, lead it. But stand up and lead it. You can't just follow everybody around and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but I'm never going to lead anything because I'm just going to follow you around. We need people to stand up and lead. We need people to stand up and lead their families and lead their children. We were talking to somebody the other day that was having problems. And again, let me start this statement by saying I am not in any way do I think, do I believe, or am I trying to say that I am the greatest parent in the world. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst. I tell Chastity all the time, when I die, my kids ain't even going to come to my funeral, and if they do come to my funeral, they ain't going to say nothing nice. Because I'm the bully. I'm the mean one. I'm the one that's always telling them no. And that's fine. I'll be that because I want them to be productive. And so Chastity was talking to somebody that was having problems with one of her sons the same age as Isaiah. I said, you tell her to send him over here to live with me. He might hate me just like the kids do, but I'll line him up. I'm not going to have him. I don't play that. Because I know what it's like to be outside. I know what it's like to be living on the other side of this thing. I know what it's like to be living in chaos every day and think that you are the master, you are the leader of your life, only to find out later on that you haven't led your life worth nothing. You couldn't lead yourself out of a soggy, wet, moist paper bag because you don't know the first thing about leadership. And you don't know the first thing about leadership because nobody has ever led you. And nobody has ever led you because you knew everything from the time you were a young teenager, and that's where that's when they need a slight correction. Say no to me one more time. Dad, I didn't say no. What I said was I would prefer not to. Okay, well, we can work with prefer not to. I don't really know what that had to do with anything. I just wanted you to know that everybody has a different mindset about what's right, what's wrong, what's real, what's not. Everybody, we can argue until we get so exhausted that we pass out. And I've worked with folks and we have disagreed about every last thing you could disagree about. Everything you could disagree about. And he told me when he moved away that he appreciated our time together. Not because we agreed, but because we could have conversations and we could talk and we could be civil and we could have love for one another and not see eye to eye. Because somebody has to be able to understand how to be civil with another person. We live in a world where who you vote for can destroy your relationships. It can destroy your friendships. It can destroy. I don't care listen, me and Chastity could go into the voting place and we could vote different all the way down the thing. That doesn't change how I feel about her. What I know is this. I try to judge everything that I do, everything that I say, everywhere that I go by this book right here. If it's not God's truth, if it's not what the Bible says, if it's not up to this standard, then I don't want to live it because I want to live what God has called me to live. And the only way I found that I can live what God has called me to live is if I put down my desire to lead my own life and I follow him. God has to be the leader of this thing if I'm going to get anywhere worth going. I can't do it by myself. There's nothing wrong with following a leader if it's a leader that you should be following, a leader that will lead you correctly, a leader with your best interests in mind, a leader that will lead you where you need to be. Every one of us at times needs direction. You just have to make sure we get our direction from the right source. In a social media society, you can follow anyone. We live in a social media society. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on whatever. Pull up your little Snapchat logo and let me scan it with my phone. That's some real secretive spy technology that they got right there on your phone that they're just letting you walk around with. I'm not like one of them conspiracy guys, but think about what you're doing here. Put your little phone out so I can scan it with my camera and it'll tell me everything I need to know about you. How about no? How about we're not doing that? Yet I have it on my phones. But we live in a society where it's so easy to follow somebody. And I want to tell you this. Just because you can follow anyone doesn't mean you should follow anyone. You have to be specific with who you follow. Everyone doesn't have your best interest at heart. I know without a doubt that there are going to be people, there have been people who have come in and this is not their style. This whole idea, whether when we were at the other place and it was full and we couldn't put no more people in there, whether we're here and we got all this extra room, it doesn't matter. There are some people that have come in here that didn't like the way I said what I said, didn't like what I said, didn't like the way I looked when I said it, didn't like the songs that we did, I'm not into all that. I have to follow God, and the only way I can lead this church or anything else is if I follow God, because I know his plan for my life is better. I know that I should follow him and he will lead me in the right direction. I also know that he has my best interests at heart, and he has the best interests of everyone who would call him their Lord. He has your best interests at heart. We have traveled a lot in our lives, and it all started pursuing ministry. We went from we went from Florida, where we're from. We went to Marion, Indiana, and then we went to Orange, Texas for a year, and then we came to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then we moved to Orlando, and then we came back to Fort Wayne to start the church. It's a lot of traveling. And what I know about traveling is that every time you go to a place and you have to learn a new city, I remember when we lived here before, is when Tim came up here. And Tim came up here and he was living with us, and he was trying to figure out the town. And he does it kind of like I do, but differently. So it's not really like I do it at all. Tim's like, you got to build a grid. You got to start here, get to know this little grid, then open your grid, then open your grid, and before you know it, you'll know everywhere in your little box. My tactic is kind of the same because I want to start right where I'm at. I want to know the area I live at most, but then I just try to get lost. And I'm like, I'll figure it out eventually. Maybe we'll just keep going, and then I'll either get where I'm going or I'll get lost, and hopefully there's a gas station so I don't run out of gas. You know, there's a lot of opportunities that we can have to get lost if we don't know where we're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you need somebody that can point you in the right direction. When we moved to Orlando, we didn't have smartphones. It was at the beginning of the smartphone phase. We had dumb phones that couldn't tell you where you were going. They couldn't pull up the map. And so we got to Orlando. We were unloading stuff at the apartment that we were living in. My mother came up to help, and my mother loves to go to Golden Corral. I don't know why. She just likes she likes a lot of sodium with her steak. And so she likes to go to Golden Corral. We were going to go to Golden Corral. So here, let me show you how you get to Golden Corral. Ready? This is the map. You start here at our apartment. You go up to this road right here, which is easy to find because you can see it from the apartment. You go all the way down here. You turn, and it's right there. It's literally 2 turns from our apartment. Over here. Let me show you how to get to UCF, University of Central Florida. You go out, you come this way, you turn up, you follow this road around, you go all the way clear up till you're almost out of Orlando. I got my back turned to the crowd, and I'm sorry. And then you get to UCF. When we tried to go here, not knowing where we were going, because we couldn't plug it into our phone and just find Golden Corral. We had to look it up and then figure it out. And somehow between looking it up and figuring it out, when we should have turned left, we turned right. And we ended up all the way at UCF almost getting in a car accident because people in Florida can't drive looking for Golden Corral. We had to call somebody and tell them, how do I get to Golden Corral? Where are you at? UCF. You're nowhere near it. Okay. Follow the way back to where you came, and then instead of turning to go to the apartment, just keep on going straight. When you get straight, you're going to get to a road called Cimarron. Turn left on Cimarron, and then right on the corner of Cimarron in Michigan, there's a Golden Corral. Somewhere right there. I don't know. Okay, cool. Thank you. 2 turns threw us all the way across the other side of town. So then a couple days later, we were out again. We were just exploring, and we got up by UCF again. And then instead of going back to the road we came to go, you had to go down and turn on our road that would take us to the apartment. We turned on a different road that ran parallel. And right on this road that UCF is on, and the road that we turned parallel is called Colonial. We turned on Colonial, went down just maybe a couple blocks, and what do we see? A golden stinking corral that was right there the whole time. Because if you don't know where you're going, you get lost easily. And so when you don't know where you're going, you need somebody to lead you. Whether it's your GPS, whether you're following somebody when people come here to visit and they're driving their separate cars and we're leading them to lunch after church or we're leading them somewhere, you have to be very specific whether you're the follower or the leader. If you're the follower, you can't follow too fast because you know where you're going, or you can't go too fast. You know where you're going. And you know where the destination is. But the people that you're leading do not. And so you can't go too fast that you lose them, but you can't go too slow either that everybody else gets mad at you and starts honking and causing chaos in your life. If you're the follower, you have to stay up with the people that are leading you. If you don't, then they're going to leave you behind and you're going to be stuck in a place that you don't know with no idea how to get in and out of where you're going. And so you have to both lead and follow very specifically. And Jesus leads us very specifically. He knows when we need to speed up because he knows where the destination is. He knows when we need to slow down because he knows when we're getting too overwhelmed. And so we have to be able to follow the way he's leading. When he speeds up, we have to speed up. When he slows down, we have to slow down. Because if we ever lose sight of Jesus, if we ever lose sight of the one that's leading us, then we start spinning around in circles and getting ourselves dizzy because I don't know where I'm going. But the Bible says that my help comes from the Lord. So why would I not follow the one that the Bible teaches me? That is where my help comes from. Following is very, very important. Direction can never be given if it's never asked for. You can just wander forever. Jesus says in this passage, I am the door. This is about him giving guidance for joy, guidance for peace, guidance for life. He waits for us all to come to him, and I would bet if we ask direction from him, he would save us from wandering around not knowing where we're going. I went to a store the other day, and I don't remember what it was, what store I was at, or what I was getting, but I said, do you know where this is? And he goes, yeah, it's all the way across the other side of the store, and he was doing a job. He said, but I'll lead you there. And I said, oh, you don't have to do that. Just like tell me an aisle, and I'll go find it myself. No, I'll lead you there. I know right where it's at. I'll lead you there. And he left what he was doing so he could take me to what I needed. See, Jesus will stop doing what he's doing when we call on him because we need him. And Jesus is what they call omnipresent. He's everywhere at once. And so it is possible that Jesus could be leading Tim, leading Tim, leading Josh, and leading Kristen all at the same time. Because he knows where Josh needs to be. And he knows where she needs to be and where he needs to be. And so he's effective enough of a leader to be able to say, if you follow me, I can multitask. Whereas if you're following me and you need me to multitask, you better just put it into your GPS because I can't do two things at one time. You should see me try to drive while I'm on the phone. I just forget what I'm doing. And Chassie's like, can you just give me the phone? Because I'm just out of it. I don't even know. Yeah, that's me. If you leave people behind, they have to be able to keep up with you. And so it is in life. God puts people in our lives, people in our path that will help us get to our destination, that will help us get to what we're looking for, that will help us find what we need. Easter is coming up, and this series is supposed to lead us to Easter. And one of the things that I try to do about Easter is promote, because everybody wants to go to church on Easter. Everybody says, I'm going to go to church on 2 days. I'm going to go on Christmas, I'm going to go on Easter. They're keisters. See, that was Tim. That was a good one. I got laughing on this side. I got nothing over there. So now I know which side I need to tell my jokes to. But they'll go on Easter. And so I always tell people, invite your friends, invite your family. If they have a church they go to, cool, let them go there. I don't want to pull nobody away, but invite people to church. Because if people that don't know about the leadership of God get into a place where they're following the leadership of God, it will open up the eyes of people that they'll see what they've never seen, they'll hear what they've never heard, they'll follow a person that they've never followed before. That's what happened to me. The first time I heard the good news of Jesus, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just gave myself to it 100%. And I would try to tell everybody I knew about it, hey, you got to come to church with me. I went outside one time, and there was this dude, you know them big transformers in Florida, they're all over the place. I don't know that I really see them all that much here, but are they here? The surveyor knows. But they're everywhere. You can see them. And primarily, I knew where they were, where I'm from, because I used to sit on all of them. Like if we would pass by, because we walked everywhere. We walked from one side of town to the other side of town because we didn't have no mode of transportation except maybe walking or a bicycle. And so if we was walking somewhere, we would see one and we would just be like, it's break time. And we would sit down on it. The transformer has nothing to do with the story. I just wanted you to know that I sat on it all the time. But I walked outside and there was a dude sitting on this transformer right outside the apartment. And he was just sitting there kicking his legs. And he was a guy that maybe other people wouldn't have talked to, wouldn't have stopped to say hi to, you just kind of would have been like, come here, let's go. Grab the kid, like let's walk a little quicker. But I walked out and I seen him sitting there and I was like, what's up, man? He goes, what's up? I said, what are you doing? You should see Josh while I'm telling the story. He's over here like, he's nodding with me and everything. He's like, yeah, what do you say? What? I said, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing all right. How are you doing? I said, I'm good. I said, you just hanging out? He said, yeah, I'm just hanging out. I said, well, we're going to church. It was Wednesday night church. It wasn't even like the big Sunday service. It was the Wednesday night Bible study. I said, we're going to church. You want to go? He goes, yeah, all right, I'll go. And he got out and walked with us. We put him in the car, drove him to church. He had fun at church. He enjoyed it. Never came back, but he said he enjoyed it. The point is this. People will, if we invite somebody to church, if we will tell somebody how to find, instead of just taking the source for ourselves and saying, this is all me, I need every bit of it. If we would just show other people how to find the same trail of breadcrumbs that we found, and we will point people to Jesus, and we will say, you need to get into his presence. It's not about who's speaking. It's not about what songs we're singing. It's about getting into the presence of Jesus. And if we can do that together, if we can come together and get into the presence of God, then we will be able to see a new leadership take over our life, and we will be able to see what God intended us to see from the beginning, and we will walk away from the things that are leading us that should not be leading us. We need guidance. We need leadership. We need Jesus in our homes, in our country, in our leaders, and in our lives. Jesus is the GPS that gets us through this life. And in the passage, Jesus doesn't announce I am at the beginning. When we read a lot of the other ones, the first thing Jesus will say is I am. I am. He waits till they get closer down to the middle. He lets people know that not everyone who comes to your life comes the right way. He lets them know that whoever comes into their life, whoever comes into the sheepfold and doesn't use the door, they're a thief and a robber. So there are some people that we allow to come into our lives that have no business being in our lives because they did not come in the right way. And Jesus is saying, if you will filter everything through me, I am the door of your life. You filter everything through me. Do you need to be with these people? Filter it through me. Do you need to go to this place? Filter it through me. Do you need to speak that language? Filter it through me. Do you need to drink that? Do you need to eat that? Do you need to watch that? Filter it through me. If you would filter everything that you do in your life through me, then I will make sure that only what is proper gets through the door. But instead, we fling the door open and say, come on in. Everything that wants to pull me away from God, everything that wants to destroy my family, everything that wants to just ruin relationships, just come on in. But Jesus is teaching them that you have to be careful what you let into your life. And you have to be careful how it gets there. Some people come in like a robber. They're there to do you harm, to mislead you, and to take from you. Some of the people we've allowed in our lives follow us, or we follow them, and it only hurts us. But we keep following. It's like the woman who is constantly cheated on by her spouse, but she won't leave and find somebody better because she thinks that's just my life. That's just what I got. I'm just not worth somebody's full love and affection. My life is stuck to this guy, and he'll never love me the way that he should, and he'll never treat me the way that he should, but that's all I can get. That's not true. That's what we allow to come in any other way but through the door. When you allow that person to walk in through the door of Jesus, he's going to be everything that you need him to be. He's going to love you the way you need love. He's going to treat you the way you need to be treated. He's going to care about you the way you need to be cared about. He's going to do everything the proper way because he is there through the proper source. Joshua seen this. Moses had been leading, and they wandered for so long. And the people complained, and they rebelled. And Joshua stood up in Joshua 24:15 and says, choose for yourself this day who you will serve. This day. Don't push off an important choice. Choose for yourself this day who you will serve. Because when you choose who you will serve, it will direct everything that you do in your life. It will lead your family. It will direct your children. You choose who you will serve. The choice is ours. We just have to make it. There are 4 ways to determine if you're following people who are following God. There are 4 ways to determine whether you're following a good leader or you're just following any random person. Maybe the people that you've been following are not good leaders, and they're running you all over town, and they're treating you all kinds of bad. And they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but you're following anyway. You're just there for the ride. It's time to choose better who we follow. And I'm speaking to me. I'm speaking to every person in this church, whether you are saved and sanctified and live holy and do everything that you need to do and you don't follow anybody that's reckless, or so you think, or whether you just came in here today and you don't even know who Jesus is and you think you're following all the important people and all the important people are leading you down the wrong path. I don't care who it is. Everybody can understand who we're following with these 4 things right here. 4 ways to determine if the people we're following are leading us correctly. First of all, they will direct you accurately. They will direct you accurately. Verse 1 through 3 says these couple sentences. He who does not enter by the door is a robber, but he who enters by the door is the shepherd. There is a difference between a robber and a shepherd. A robber is there to hurt. A robber is there to destroy. A robber is there to take. A robber is there to do harm. But a shepherd is there to protect. So who you let in your life will be determined by how they direct you. Are they leading you in a good direction? Are they leading you in a place that will build your life up, that will add to your life and not take away? There are so many people that we follow, and they just take and take and take and take, and they don't put anything into our life. They just constantly take out of our life, and we don't know the first part about walking away from them. But that's my best friend. We've been friends since we were in 5th grade. Well, there comes a friend who is closer than a brother, who is closer than a sister, who is closer than a parent. There is a friend who will lead you the way you need to be led. There is a friend who knows the proper way to go. It's important to notice that both of these have access to the sheep. If you don't pay attention, you can miss the fact that the robber and the shepherd both have access to the sheep. They're not hidden. They're out there for anybody to come up on. So when you're out at your job, they both have access to you. When you're picking up your kids from daycare, they both have access to you. As a matter of fact, I would bet that some of the shepherd's children and some of the robber's children all go to the same school. They're always there. They have access to the sheep all the time. And people like to say that Satan cannot be in the presence of God. That's what I heard when I was saved. When I came to church, people would say that. I would be like, well, I'm struggling with this, or I'm trying to get past this problem in my life. Brother, bless the Lord. Satan cannot be in the same place as God. It's not how it works. It's just not the way God allows it. If he's there, Satan can't be there. That's not true. Because if you read Job chapter 1, 7 through 12, you'll see that Satan and God are having a conversation. And he asks him, he said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just wandering around looking for somebody that I can torture. They're both in the same place, have access to the same people. The difference is Job was protected by God because he knew who his leadership was. He knew who would keep him safe. And so Satan goes and he said, and God says to Satan, well, have you considered Job? I mean, my boy Job is straight. He ain't going to turn around for nothing. He is doing this. He is living this life for me. I know Job won't leave me. And Satan said, challenge accepted. And he took everything from Job. He took his children. He took his livestock, which meant he took his money. He took his happiness. He took his everything. He took his wife's peace. And it came to the point where his wife said, you just need to curse God and die. But Job hung on to his integrity. He would not. He complained. He had issues. He didn't think it was fair. But he never turned his back on God. And because he was faithful to God, God was faithful to him. It's on us to determine the leader that we follow. A good godly leader will direct you accurately. Psalm 37:23 says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Look at the leadership of God in Deuteronomy chapter 2. They were wandering around for 40 years, but they were never left alone. Deuteronomy 29 looks back on it, and it says this: the Lord said to them, during these 40 years that I led you through the wilderness, your clothes did not wear out, neither did the sandals on your feet. They were taken complete care of because of who they were following. When you follow the right source, you will have everything you need. You might not have what you want, but there's a difference between a want and a need. A good leader will give you proper guidance. There's always someone trying to lead you away. You can't even lead yourself. Why would I let you lead me? I mean, you're a mess in every single way. Why would I let you lead me? Hey, don't study for your final exam. Come out with me. Hey, I know that your kids haven't seen you in a week and you've been out of town, you've been doing what you're doing, but they don't need to see you today. Come out, come do something with me. The people that we allow in our life will pull us in every direction except the proper one. You got to make sure that who you're following is directing you accurately. The second thing is they devote absolutely. Verse 4 and 5 said he brings his own sheep. His own sheep. He goes before them. They know his voice and will by no means follow a stranger. Good guidance will be devoted to you. It will be something that doesn't leave you or forsake you. That's what the Bible says. Good. It will be completely devoted to your safety, completely devoted to covering you. When you go through those times of the storm, the leadership of God will devote itself completely to you to keep you safe. That's what he did for the disciples when they were on the Sea of Galilee and the storm came all quick, and they ran to Jesus and they said, do you not even care that we are dying? And Jesus got up and he shut the waves down and he said, peace be still, and everything stopped, and he looked at them and said, are you kidding me? Not like that. Are you serious? Do you know who I am? I am devoted to your peace. I am devoted to your safety. Just because you're in a storm doesn't mean that I'm not here. Understand, I'm still on your boat. Maybe I'm sleeping. But if I'm sleeping, then you should be okay, because if it was something to worry about, I'd get up and handle it. And we go through life begging for God to handle things. God, help me. You said you would be here. If he's being quiet, it means it must not be that bad of a storm. Otherwise, he'd get up and shut it down. We live life thinking that God has forgot about us, that he's not devoted to us anymore, that he doesn't love us anymore. He is 100% absolutely in love with everyone who would call on his name, who would see him as their Lord. Jesus is devoted to you, absolutely. Good guidance will be devoted, and I know from my own experience, people like it when you follow along. Do what I do. Like what I like. Go where I go. Don't have a free thought of your own. Do what everyone else does. When someone is leading you properly, they are concerned about you, not concerned about themselves. Jesus is that kind of leader, the kind of leader that looks out for the safety of his sheep. We shouldn't devote ourselves to people that don't care about us. We settle for being full-time followers of part-time people. Stand up. You weren't meant to follow part-time people. You were meant to follow a full-time Jesus. Don't settle for less. A husband that is 85% faithful to his wife is not faithful at all. There's no such thing as part-time loyalty. Either someone is 100% in or they're 100% out. The third thing, a good leader will defend you aggressively. The first part of verse 10. The thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy. You can turn the music on. I'm about done. The thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy. Look in your life. Look at the people that are around you. Maybe even the person that's sitting in your row. The person that's sitting by you. You're good. Look at the people around you. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But the problem is we label thieves as good people. And we let them come in and we don't notice when they're stealing. We don't notice when they're killing us. We don't notice when they're destroying us. The direction and guidance of God will defend all who follow him. Ask Moses about God's covering. When Moses said, God, I can't do it. I can't go into Egypt and lead these people out. You got the wrong guy. Go, I'll be with you. Oh, go into the wilderness. I'll go before you. Oh, you came up to a Red Sea. Don't worry about it. Just stand there and do what I tell you to do, and I will separate the water. Ask God, ask Moses about how he defends his people. And if you need a second person, ask Gideon. Gideon, your army is too big. What kind of sense does that make? My army is too big? That just means I'm going to get a good victory. No, Gideon. I need you to know where your victories come from. Your army's too big. You got like 20,000 people. It's about 19,700 more than you need. Huh? I don't know. I'm terrible at math. So if I did that right, it was a miracle, and you should give God the credit. You need 300 people to go fight an army. 300? Can I get at least 350? 300, Gideon. And Gideon went into battle and was successful, not because of the army that he kept by his side, but because of the God that he kept inside of him. That is where your success comes from. A true leader, somebody that really has your best interest at heart, will defend you aggressively. You could see that the thief was there to steal, kill, and destroy. But you could also choose the protection of God. And that's what happens in Jesus' life. Verse 10 showed a different side of the thief. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Remember Jesus being crucified. Remember Jesus standing there. Not standing there, but being nailed there. And next to him were two thieves. Remember, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And the one thief on his side was absolutely there to steal, kill, and destroy. Oh, if you're God, if you're so good, if you're all that, why don't you get off that cross? And why don't you save us too? Oh, if you're so powerful, why don't you get us out of this mess? He was definitely there. He was still accusing Jesus while he was nailed next to him. And I imagine if Jesus was up there and he had his head tilted toward this joker, that would be the perfect time to go, we're done here. I'm already not feeling this day. It's been a rough day for me, and now you're going to talk. And then the other thief piped in and said, do you not even fear God now? We deserve what we got, but this man is innocent. And Jesus showed the thief that was willing to fight for him that he would fight for the thief. Because even a thief can be covered by the proper protection of a good shepherd. And Jesus looked at him and said, don't you worry. Today, you will be with me in paradise. One thief knew how to throw insults. One thief knew how to throw forgiveness or knew how to throw repentance. And both of them had the attention of Jesus. But one of them left with him and one of them didn't. It's important to know that God will always defend you. It's a symbol of hope that what you have been is not what you have to be. What you've been through is not what you're destined to. The goodness of God will defend his people every day in every single way. If you're sitting here alone and broken and wondering, why are you going through this? Understand that there is a God standing there waiting for you to call on him and put him in. He's saying, tag me in. You are not in a one-on-one fight. You are in a tag team match. And your partner is more powerful than any other partner that you could ask for. Tag him in every now and then. God, I can't handle this by myself. I need you. I need you. And let him come in and protect you. You need the protection of a great protector. He knows what we need. He knows, listen, he knows where you are. I think even right now that there's at least one person in here in this limited gathering where half of the people are not here. There is still one person, I can feel it down inside, that is living their life and feels like God has no idea where they are. Maybe they know God, got a relationship with God, trying to find it back again. I don't know what the situation is, but you feel like God forgot where you are, like God lost your address. He has never lost your address. He's going to defend you aggressively. Sometimes we have to go through a part of the battle by ourselves because he needs you to be at your strongest. Because that part of the battle is going to build you up. And so right now you don't know where he's at because you're on the sideline and he's in the ring. He's fighting for you. You don't even know the battles that you're not seeing because he's over there taking care of them ahead of time. I can't go through this no more. Don't worry about it. You don't have to because I've already cleared the way. And then we got to tag back in so that we can fight for ourselves. And if you're walking through life thinking that God forgot about you, ask God to tell you about the things he kept you away from. Ask God to tell you, my relationship is over. Ask God to tell you where that relationship was going. I don't know why things happen the way they happen, but I do know this. God is a protector. And I believe everything inside that there is at least one person who thinks that God has forgot about you. Let me promise you, he hasn't. He loves you the same today as he did yesterday, as he did when you were born. He's still there for you. He knows the danger we face. The protective hand of God will sustain us and lead us and defend us always. Always. That's the promise of God. The last thing is that he will deliver abundantly. The second part of verse 10 says, I come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. But God. Whenever you hear the words, but God in the Bible, there's going to be something awesome that follows it. So your life is hard right now, but God is there before you. And your life is struggling right now, but God sees where you're at. And you feel depressed right now, but God is going to lift you up. And you feel heartbroken and betrayed, but God is going to welcome you in. And you feel like everything is over, but God is just showing you the beginning of what's going to come. He's going to keep you safe and keep you protected and love you through every valley that you walk through. Because remember, Psalm 23, I'm sure everybody knows Psalm 23. Let me hear the first part of it. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Though I walk, say it again. Though I walk. God's promise is not to leave you in the valley. His promise is to walk you through the valley. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow, not the valley of death, the valley of the shadow of death. You know what the shadow of death is to me? The shadow of death to me, it makes me think of as close as you can be to dying without fully getting the relief of dying. That means at your darkest hour. When you're in the car accident and you're sitting in the hospital and you don't remember half of what happened and your head is held together with stitches and metal plates, you still walked through the valley. And sometimes God is in your life to tell you, I know it seems dark right now, but you're going to get through the valley. Though I walk through the valley. I know people are leaving you now, but you're going to walk through the valley. I know that it's hard to be a single parent, but you're going to get through the valley. I know it's hard to be on your next divorce, but you're going to get through the valley. I know it's hard to make these really big decisions, but God, He is ready to deliver us in abundance, abundant hope, abundant joy, abundant love, and abundant life. But God will deliver. I'm going to close with this story. There was a guy named Eli Black. I've never heard of him before I read this story, so if you have, then awesome job. I didn't. But he was a brilliant businessman, best known for two things in his life. He masterminded the multi-million-dollar takeover of the United Fruit conglomerate, whatever that is. Fruit. And then the second thing he's known for is that he jumped to his death from the 42nd floor of the Pan Am building in New York City. In the book, An American Company, an executive described a business lunch with Eli Black. And when the waitress brought a plate of cheese and crackers as an appetizer, Black reached out and took them and put them on the table and covered them with his arms so nobody else could get them. And he continued talking. The executive said he hadn't eaten all day, and he hinted that he would like a cracker. But Eli Black acted as though he didn't hear him and kept on eating and kept on with the business. After a while, Eli Black placed a cracker and cheese on the tips of the fingers on the tips of his fingers and continued to talk, holding the cheese and crackers out there like this. Several minutes later, he put it back on the plate, put the plate back in his arms, and covered it again so nobody else could get it. The executive said it was clear that Black was in charge, manipulating others as he pleased. And then the executive went on to say, when you play follow the leader, check to see who's in the head of the line. Because for the people that would have followed Eli Black, they would have followed him right out of the window. But the people that follow others, the people that follow the people that have no good in store for them, they're going to lead you right off a cliff. But when you follow Jesus, when you know where the door is, when you know who's at the front of your line, you can understand that, yeah, the water seems like it's getting kind of high now, but if they made it through, I'll make it through. The storm looks pretty bad right now, but if they made it through, I'll make it through. The problem with storms is that they get so scary. Eli Black lost all of his power and ended up in suicide. Jesus, in all of his humanity, ended up the Savior of the world. Who's in the front of your line? Because the storm's coming. In Florida, listen, I am more scared of an Indiana storm than I am a Florida storm. Because Florida storms are short. They don't usually last all day. It can rain for 3 days here. But I remember being young, and we lived behind. Josh was a baby. Me and Tim used to go. We lived behind a Walmart, and there was an Arby's up there. And they used to have the Arby's. They used to have the cheese, the nacho cheese, and a pump thing. So you could order some fries and then go pump your own nacho cheese and then go sit down. And we would get money, and we would go across to Arby's, and we would go through Walmart, and we would go do whatever we needed to do. And my mother would let us walk to that plaza. It was right in front of the house, and we would go get Arby's, and we would sit there. And we would get our French fries, our curly fries, and we would pump our cheese, and we would eat cheese, remember? And one day, I don't know if he'll remember, but one day, we were walking back, and we got, the Arby's was out in the front of the plaza, and then you walk back. And you had to walk, and we walked underneath because it was cloudy. And we was walking underneath the plaza. Like if you're out here, you're walking underneath. And it got so cloudy, and it started lightning popping. And things started coming down, and it was raining. And Tim was scared, and I was scared. And it started raining so hard that we didn't know if we were even going to make it home, and we were just a few hundred feet from the door. And I remember lightning hitting so hard and so loud that it scared us so bad. And in the middle of the rain, in the middle of the storm, Tim just got down like this and refused to move. And I wanted to sit there with him because I was terrified. But I was like, the sooner we get home, the better off this will be. And I said, you can't stay here. You're still in danger. We got to get home. And I picked him up, and we like had our arms like this, and we ran all the way home together, the two of us, scared to death, terrified of what was happening. And you're in a storm right now, maybe. and you're knelt down because you're scared. But Jesus is running back to you. And he's saying, don't stop. You're still in the storm. Take my hand and let me lead you. I didn't lead Tim out of that storm because I was brave, because I wasn't. I didn't lead my kids up to the crown of the Statue of Liberty because I was brave, because I was trying my hardest not to have a breakdown like they were having. I did it because I knew there was an end goal. For me and Tim, it was to get out of the storm and get safe. Now, you're standing here today, and God says, I want you to get out of the storm, and I want you to be safe. Don't stop. Don't stop just because it's scary. Don't stop just because it's hard. He's ready for you. He's waiting for you. Let's pray. Father, we ask that you would just be with us today. And God, I pray that you have spoken to the hearts of your people. That we as a family, we together would navigate through this life, not by our own guidance, not by our own abilities, but that we would follow your leadership.